to be about. So before we begin, this webinar is in collaboration with QFIS. QFIS is a
Mhm.
mentoring platform with a community of experts who guide individuals in their journey. So QFIS
Mhm.
also hosts a lot of workshops and coaching on different topics to enhance the skills of students. So if any of y'all are interested, I'm going to drop in the URL in the chat section so all of y'all can go head there and connect to amazing mentors like Saurabh as well.
Nice.
Lovely. So before we
Okay.
begin, Saurabh, for those of y'all who don't know, Saurabh is currently working as a full stack developer at bookings.com. So Saurabh, we'd love to know your journey of what you studied, what are you currently doing as well, and the organizations that you worked in between. So can you give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Okay, cool. Thanks for hosting me. I think my captain and Q first. So just giving my intro and a brief intro, like my past background. I passed out in 2013 from VIT Valor Computer Science graduate. And thereafter, I started my own startup for the next 5 years. And we were like around a team of 50 people. And then thereafter, I decided to sold my shares. And then I started on a journey of as a CTO for one of the AI startup. So I worked on artificial intelligence and computer vision around those aspects for 1.5 years. And last year, I decided to move to abroad and settled in Amsterdam. Currently, I'm working as a full stack developer. So my main role and responsibility in Booking is working on backend technologies, on architectures, and as well as on the front end technologies. So I have nearly like 8 year experience overall, and I'm as a Python expert on multiple platforms like CodeMentor, Hackends, and have mentored nearly more than 1,000+ developers on Python specifically on Python projects, and work with some of the Google X projects with the companies in Nigeria and US.
That's very interesting. So, gladly enough, I've also graduated from VIT Vellore itself, and that's very nice to see like
Mhm.
an alumni. And I think your journey has been amazing. Also moving into different industries and
Yeah,
understanding what you really like and enjoy doing. So,
yeah,
you're currently working as a full stack developer at
yeah,
Bookings.com. So, can you tell us what are the exact roles and responsibilities at
yeah.
this particular role?
Yeah, so for full stack developer in Booking, you work on like 360 degree. So there is let's say we are working on a product for the next 6 months. So we have contribution from like all the aspects. So when we decide like this is the product we're gonna work. So when we have a prototype based on the business needs from the product manager or the designers. So every developer has a contribution, whether like in terms of requirement as well. So when we decide like this is the scope of the project, we decide on the architecture. So as a full stack developer, uh, it's my duty. Like, I have to decide like what should be the architecture for the backend and what should be the architecture for the front end. We do have some booking standards. We do have some like conventions or maybe technologies like inside Booking. So if you see a lot of open source technology, we have actually revamped and actually groomed a lot inside the Booking culture. So when we decide the architecture and thereafter we started working on like product requirements. So basically I worked on deciding like let's say if you're building a backend, so we decide like what should be the scope of the backend and in terms of APIs, in terms of database modeling, and then thereafter also the system designing with the senior developer as well. So, and then the for like front end also we worked, but we don't work as a full stack developer. We don't work much more on the HTML and CSS. We mostly work on JavaScript because everything is mostly designed in terms of components for the front end inside Booking already. So mostly like we work on business logic around the front end and business logic around the back end.
That's very interesting. Can you tell us what are the programming languages that are required by the industry right now? Because we have a lot of students who are, either
Yeah.
in class 12 or in colleges, and they don't know what roles are required by the industry. So can you share, throw a little light on that as well?
Yeah. So I think it depends on the one choice. Like if you are good at any programming language, right, you can be successful. It doesn't matter like you have to be good in Python or you have to be good in C, C++. Opportunities are there everywhere because I have worked in almost like all the languages. I worked in C, C++, Java, PHP in early days, like 10 years back, and then Ruby on Rails and Node.js. So it's plenty of languages. So I have seen opportunity everywhere. So technology and the languages, it's just like a fashion. It keeps changing every year. So what is the first thing is like you have to keep in mind like what is currently in trending. you should adapt to it. And then slowly you should, going forward, like you have to see how the trend is going. So you have to keep yourself up to date with the latest technology and trends. So if I see recently, the people talk about a lot about Python and Node.js in the industry, and even React and Vue, right?
Yeah.
So I can see right now Vue and React on the front end, and the back end is depending upon like what you actually want to do. So Node.js is the one for the API, and Python is something which you can do everything. Mostly like, because I have background in artificial intelligence and machine learning, so I've seen like Python work really well with the data. So I think these are the languages. But if somebody will ask me like which language is best, so I will definitely say there is no language is best. It's you have to adapt to it, and then going forward, see how the trend is going. Because might be in the future, you don't know, like Java will be dominating, because we are at that scale, like billion people are using technology nowadays every day. So yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely like that. Stay in the trend and figure out what domain you want to move into, and, master that particular language. Lovely.
Yeah.
So coming to the main topic of the session, which are major and minor projects. So when we selected, like, we were thinking what are the topics that students would really want to know.
Yeah.
A lot of the students reached out to us saying, we want to know what projects to develop, because
Yeah.
projects are equally important to build skills on their resumes.
Yeah.
So let's start with the minor projects. Can you tell us what students can actually build, when they're in their college days
Yeah.
and for Python?
Yeah. So I'll tell you like what, so as you mentioned the question, I will add one more point to it. What can be the best practice like one should follow while building the projects, and what kind of projects like they can build like accordingly.
Perfect.
So one thing like I see like as a programmer, you should be very good in fundamentals of computer science, right? So once you are in that career zone, like when you are actually preparing for like getting outside of college, right? So there you try to focus on like projects which will enhance your fundamental of computer science. So if I give you my example, I started following the people who are very like good in those like say in Python industry, right? And I see like what projects they have built when they were at my age, right? So
Right.
I give an example. Peter Novick, he's one of the Google research director, and he's one of the co-founder of Udacity. So I used to see his blogs, what blog he used to do when in 2000 or 2001 or 1990s. So there was few core projects which I found like one should start with, which is spell checker, like how Google's spell checker works. Like when you type something with a misspell, right? It asks you like, did you mean this? So something like that. So it will help you to interact with the core Python libraries as well as, and also will boost you or groom you in terms of your fundamentals of computer science. Secondly, I can say like search engine, right? So there is a very good course on Udacity, which is called Introduction to Computer Science. So in that course, like you will learn about core fundamentals of Python, data structures which we use in Python, and also how efficiently you can write a program and the conventions which you can use. And then the good practices, let's say, so minor project is something like which is you just start, like you just start with a bootstrap, and then you slowly build along the line, right? So if I say like as a minor project, you do spell checker, you can do search engine, and then once you start learning like some of the technologies like web development in Python, let's say Flask or maybe Django, right? You take that what you have built in a simple Python program, convert that into with a like user interface for people out there, right? So it's just like how you take your hobby project and convert that into the major project. So I did same when I built the spell checker. I started doing a lot of research and did contribute in some of the research paper. And then slowly, same thing with the search engine. I started doing and making it, enhancing it along the way, and then build something on the real world, right? And which was like a search engine for the music for one of my junior in college.
Okay.
So yeah, so I think this what matters. Like you start with a small idea and keep grooming. Like don't stop with just with one project, right? Keep enhancing like what you can do. Whatever you learn, just apply there. So I think there is other project which I can say about Web Scraper. I think a lot of people scrap other websites and do the data analysis, right? So something which I can tell like people to start with, learn about Beautiful Soup in Python and other libraries, and how you can asynchronously crawl other websites and focus on the problem, Like if you see My Smart Price, what they do, they crawl different websites and on the prices, and they notify the people, right? So what you can do for yourself, let's say there's a Chrome plugin you want to build for yourself, or there is a bot you want to build for yourself, right, which can notify you if there is a price drop on Amazon item, right? So see the problem and just apply. And Python is a language which is like fit for every use case, right? So it's really good. Like if you do if you start with Python in one segment, then you can move to another segment. So data analysis, AI, machine learning, web programming, data analytics, like it's applicable in everywhere, right? So yeah, so that's how like my journey was, which I can recommend the same.
Beautiful, beautiful. I know that a lot of, projects that, you can only find also on Google. You just
Yeah,
Google it and you probably find. But I like
yeah,
that you mentioned, spell check, search
yeah,
engine, web scrapper, which are very,
yeah,
something that they can build on their fundamentals. Lovely.
yes, yeah.
We can move on to the major projects. Like for
Mhm.
major projects for Python, what can students work on?
Yeah. So I think so. What I can tell you regarding that, like, so search engine is actually one of the major project. It's really hard. So it involves like what are the different algorithms which which Google has used initially, like in 1990s or 200s, right, 2000s. So you can read the research paper, right, and just start building it along the way. So search engine is one of the major project. Spell checker is can be one of the minor project. So
Okay.
I feel like while building search engine, you will learn a lot in terms of how Python can do some lot of magic, right? And there is a lot of research paper like in Python. So you can go to research.google.com and see like relevant to Python specifically, like NLP, what are the research has been done, what are the new libraries are coming in, right? So there is one more recommendation from my side is like when you see a tech talk, let's say Google I/O is one, and you can see Facebook and other companies, they have a tech talk. When people talk about the technology, you start following that person, right? See, go to their GitHubs, you will find specifically some open source project which they're building and which is live, right? So from those projects, which is like you can read everything, it's on GitHub, open source. Try to see like what different they're trying to do from yourself, right? In terms of code convention, in terms of writing scalable code. So they have their own blogs. So most of the tech talk speakers, if you see on the big tech companies, they have their own blog, right? So follow their Medium blogs, right? And just see, because that's the right way. And or maybe you can say you are approaching the right content at the first sight. So, and there are different open source book. One I can say AOSA book. So you can just Google AOSA, AOSA. So that book has the architectures, and most of the code are written in Python. And that book has been built by all the like major leaders in the tech, like say Facebook data scientists or Google data scientists, those kind of people involved there. So you can read, and it's very simple to read. You can invest nearly 2 days to read a chapter online. It's all. So that way you will know, like you can relate with the real world things and you can connect.
Definitely. I like that you also mentioned about GitHub. So, how
Yeah.
important is it to have a GitHub or a Stack Overflow profile for
Yeah.
students who are sitting for placements and interviews?
Yes, yes, yes. GitHub is really important. Like, it's like for a model, it's like a fashion, right? And for a programmer, it's like a GitHub. So it's really important to have a good GitHub profile. So whatever you do, like if you're doing hobby project, try to push to the GitHub, because a lot of recruiters, they try to reach out through GitHub as well, because they have their own inbuilt tools which can analyze, okay, this person in Bangalore is doing a lot more coding in Python, right? So those kind of like intelligent tools are available, and a lot of startups has been built and people are using it. So GitHub has I think the first I can say GitHub. The second is Stack Overflow. Like if you're looking for internship opportunities, like maybe in India or outside India, Stack Overflow, like people care a lot. So maybe try to build your profile in terms of answering, or it will also help you, like when you answer people right, you give your best shot, right? When you
Yeah.
give your best shot, you will also learn, right? Because you are in a situation like I should give the best answer, I should have the highest votes. So do that. I think Stack Overflow maybe the second. It will help you as getting the jobs as well, an internship abroad. And I've seen a lot of companies from India, like outside India even, like maybe like 7 to 8 companies last year, I got a call from through Stack Overflow. right? And also on GitHubs. And I think these two, GitHub and Stack Overflow. But if you have a good enough GitHub profile, I think that is also sufficient. You don't need Stack Overflow. But considering I mentioned about the jobs or maybe internship, the Stack Overflow matters there.
Definitely. So if you're a tech person, it's better to have these two profiles
Yeah.
and keep it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
What are some of the websites that students can use to, figure out what projects to develop and things like that? So anything from your experience that you probably followed or that students can look at particular site?
So what I have done, like I follow like different people. So different people from different. So like say Google Tech Talk is the one. I use Google I/O on YouTube, and whenever I watch, because it's so tech, like you will actually have so many information in just one 60-minute video, and then there is like you have to do a lot of homework, right? You just go to the person profile, see their GitHub, see their blogs, and also there are other YouTube channels. There is InfoQ, which is good in terms of knowing the architectures and different projects at scale. And also I can say the Google Chrome developer channel. That is also like, it's really good and up to the mark. So these are the different YouTube channels which will help. I think YouTube channel, you go to YouTube channel and their websites, like, and also there are different blogs like high scalability blog, where you will read about different architectures and different languages. You can read like about anything which is at scale on that website. So high scalability is also a pretty good website. Like you can spend like nearly one blog per day. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let's come to the interview aspect of it because I think a lot of students, they're planning to sit for placements or internship. What are some of the specific questions they usually ask, like programming related questions that keep repeating from every interview to interview?
Yeah.
Anything in your opinion?
Okay, so this is also like, so if I see the startup companies, they have a different way of taking interviews nowadays, right? And if I focus on a big tech companies, which is like, if I talk about like Amazon, Google, or other companies, right? They have a different way of asking questions or way of conducting the interviews. So the startup company, they focus on more on skills, right? So let's say initial, maybe the few rounds will be on fundamental of computer science for sure, because that is like where they want to chuck off a lot of people, right? So that is like data structure algorithms, first maybe 1 or 2 rounds, and thereafter depending upon the like different languages. So if I say JavaScript, right, you read about fundamentals of JavaScript, right? As a web, so I'm telling you about as a web developer, like JavaScript is also a major concern, like in all of the interviews, and then comes the backend language. So if you say about Python, then definitely they're going to ask you a lot of questions about Python. So considering JavaScript, they will ask you about Clojure, they will ask you about higher order function, they will ask you about promises, callbacks, the fundamental of core JavaScript. And then if I talk about Python, then they will ask you about basics, the dictionaries, list, and then they will ask you about manipulation and those, how decorator works, how generator works, what lambda function is, how inheritance works in Python, right? And so very like maybe fundamentals of Python. And then if you're applying as a web developer, specifically in a Python, where the company works in some different framework, then you might have questions related to MVC, like how model view controller works in any of the framework. If you choose Flask, they might even ask you in Flask. If you mention Django, they can ask you in Django. And then there comes our databases. So they might ask you about SQL databases, NoSQL databases, like what is good, where, like when we should use which one, when NoSQL is fit or when MySQL is fit. And then they can ask you about more about indexes in databases and how you can efficiently build like say tables for read and write optimization. So I think those are the mission. And maybe like if they want to go for nearly advanced, they can ask you about locking. Like if you have million requests coming in, how you can handle a load on the databases. So those kind of questions. So for an interview, like they will cover you like problem solving first, like fundamentals of data science, like computer science, which is data structure algorithms. And then you will have questions on mostly on fundamental of Python, which is language specific, as I mentioned about decorators, lambdas, and generators and object-oriented programming in Python, how you can achieve. So those kind of aspects. And if you are applying specifically in a let's say the company is working specifically in Python backend, then they might ask you questions on framework. It can be in Django or it can be in Flask. So that's how it works. And right now I've seen one more thing, like people are asking to build, like they give you a task in startups mostly. They give you a task, you have to build some APIs and authentication and basic CRUD operation in the Python. So maybe if you are familiar with basics and you can actually do all those kind of questions. So yeah, I think these are the aspects for the startups and big tech companies. They don't ask programming like language related questions. They only ask you about data structure algorithm, but they might ask you about system design. So you need to know, like, even if you're doing web development, what are the components you use, how like server works, how load balancer work, how databases work. So you should know like higher level of introduction of everything, like maybe the how of each and every component on the web, how it works.
Makes sense. Makes sense. For something like JavaScript and Flutter, what platforms would you suggest that students can work on this? Because when they're in college, colleges don't really teach
Yes.
such programming languages. So they only know C, C++, or the basic languages. So what would you suggest? Where do they learn? Did you learn on the
Yes.
job, or did you also do some courses?
Yeah. So JavaScript is one thing like which I have seen like every company is asking now. So there is a book. So first of all, like fundamental of JavaScript, read from a book called Eloquent. So it's called Eloquent JavaScript. You Google it. It's there online. You can read it. You have practical examples. I think that will help you to build the fundamental concept even like at advanced level. And then slowly, when it comes to framework, you start doing Express.js. You can use Node.js as an engine. And yeah, so one thing I want to mention, I think a lot of people have joined here. They must be from colleges, right? And what is something is missing, right? Basically, in the community of the fresh graduates, is they don't follow the official documentation, right? So they started looking for different blog, different sites, right? If they want to learn Python, they just Google it, like how to learn Python, like instead of going to the Python talks. So the best practice, all the top developers, they don't follow other people blog first. That's a second option. The first is official documentation. So go through the official documentation. It might be boring, but if you go through that, uh, try to go through the entire documentation first, and then follow other people resources. So I think that's how like one should follow. Then the
Okay,
YouTube or the blogs.
makes sense. Can you tell us the name of the JavaScript book again?
It's called Eloquent. Eloquent.
Okay, I'll just put it in the chat so any mentees who want to take it up. Lovely. So do you have any pro tips on, because you've worked at a lot of companies and you understand that what are they looking for in people when they're recruiting? So when people show their resumes, what exactly should students put on their resume? Is
Yeah.
projects important? Is internships important for them to get the necessary job or internship?
Yes. Yeah. So I have experience of getting shortlisted all the companies, whether it's Google, Facebook, or any companies that have been interviews, and even the startups. So I can tell you like what exactly, like even I used to ask like what is something like which they feel. So I think there is a 5-second rule for any resume or CV, right? So if I am recruiting someone, right, I will look like what I can observe in 5 seconds, which make me interest. So if I'm hiring for a specific role, one thing is I look for like GitHub. If somebody has a GitHub and they have like all the projects, like not only the GitHub, but there should be some kind of projects. So I think that's the first thing I look at. The second I look at is what kind of hobby projects they have done. Like apart from their studying in colleges or apart from working in a company, what they have done, right? So how much they're excited about technology or how much they're passionate about. So I focus on hobby projects. So that's how the company, even big tech companies, they see what kind of hobby project you've built. If you see any top developer or top programmer, they have in their own GitHub, like they will have like hundreds of projects, which is like just the hobby projects. So try to highlight your hobby projects. Make sure you can showcase your learning curve, and whatever you do, right, try to make it online. Like, so if you build a product or anything for your hobby project as per se, make it online, right? Put it on a server, right? So people can see your work. They can see like what you have done. So you should prove your work, right, by mentioning it. So that is something is really important. And then I also look into what kind of languages they worked on, in the frameworks, whether they're like end to end focused on us, like if you involve in a project, whether you are just working on API or whether you're taking care of databases and other stuff. So what is 360 degree of role you have in your project, right? That also matters a lot. So these are the initial things, and also try to make sure you have a LinkedIn profile up to date, because a lot of recruiters nowadays coming through LinkedIn as well. But even though they don't take your resume, just the LinkedIn, that's enough. So make sure you're up to date with all the your profile on different platforms, and yeah, and mostly try to put some technical achievements instead of non-technical achievements, right? So if you participate in hackathon or maybe a programming contest, so those are the things excites a recruiter to go for the next rounds.
Brilliant, brilliant. So if students want to like apply for any internships or jobs, where can they find these internships? Do they directly go to the websites or
Yeah.
referrals? How does it work?
Yeah, so basically, I think for internship, Stack Overflow is good enough nowadays. You can look for Stack Overflow and the LinkedIn. These two, like instead of going through other platform like Naukri and all, I used to prefer, because Stack Overflow has very technical community, right? Even the company which are posting, they are also like technical community driven, right? So go through Stack Overflow, right? There are good companies, and LinkedIn, and also go through the official website. These three resources I've used in my life, like mostly. So LinkedIn matters a lot, right? Even companies like Google, Facebook, they shortlist through LinkedIn, right? Even startups they shortlist through LinkedIn, right? Because a lot of founders nowadays are active because of COVID.
Right.
Everybody is on LinkedIn. It's become a new social network, or maybe a Facebook for people out there. So make sure your profile is up to date on LinkedIn, and also keep looking on LinkedIn, because uh, I think every company posted on LinkedIn. That's a first source for anyone, and then Stack Overflow.
Definitely, lovely. So, yeah, I think that covers most of the questions that I had. We'll look at a couple of mentee questions. So somebody's asking
Yeah,
how
sure.
to become a full stack developer.
Yeah. So for full stack developer, first is, let's say you have to be good in, like you should know the entire architecture, like how backend works, how front end works, how they work combined together, right? So it's very easy for a backend developer to become a front end developer, right? And it's very hard for a front end developer to become a backend developer, right? So maybe if I think most of them are backend developers, right? So what you need to do is like first learn a framework, and learn a framework like end to end, build APIs, understand databases, like, and then start towards front end. So first you should be strong in back end, then you should jump to front end, because coming that way front end to back end, then you will have a lot of questions and you will see the different scope, right? But once you do the backend and move to the front end, it's very easy, because nowadays all the framework, that's the way they work, like as a MVC in the backend, the same way they work in the backend. So there is a controller, there's a model, there is a viewer. So it's very easy to adopt for a backend developer. So make sure you should be strong in one of the backend language, and then move to the front end very easily. Like make sure fundamental of computer science should be strong, and learn any framework, maybe Vue.js or maybe React, depending upon which makes you more interest.
All right. So I do want to ask this because a lot of students sometimes have this question, what is the difference between a web developer and a full stack developer?
I think this is different companies, like Amazon used to say web developer, right? And you mostly work on front end, right? You work on back end, but kind of integration and all those sort of things. But full stack is something you actually do the front end from scratch, and you do the back end from scratch. So you will have, for full stack developer, they will have a very good understanding of the architecture of front end or the back end, both. So that's the difference. Because Amazon has given a web developer profile, which majorly work on JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and also integration of APIs as a middleware. But if you're a full stack, you might need to work on the core technologies, and also you need to enhance or scale the backend, not only just the coding part, but also the architecture side of it.
Okay,
Yeah.
lovely. So I can see Suraj is also asking, what would you recommend as a good project for a final year electronics student?
Okay. So see, I think everybody excites about Google, right? How Google works, right? So start maybe just explore about how search engine works and how you, because that is something which you interact everyday basis, and you will have more curiosity to know, right? So maybe the one of the project I suggest is how to build a search engine like Google. Maybe take a small corpus. Don't focus on like Google is like Google corpus is like entire web, billions of websites. But you focus on something, let's say Stack Overflow as your corpus. And if anybody search for any technical query, you should be able to return the results. So scope the maybe for your corpus, and then try to build search engine on top of it, for because that is something which you will learn a lot. You will learn about algorithms, data structure, you will learn about APIs, you will learn about front end as well. And yeah, that is like everything almost.
Okay, all right. So I can still see a lot of questions related to what platforms are good. So they mainly want to know what platforms to start learning Python.
Mhm. Okay, so I think so. Python is very small language, right? I remember when I was doing internship in fourth year, my so I interned in one of the startup. It was started by one of the HackerRank early developer. So I have given like 3 hours to learn Python, right? And that's it. After that, you need to work, right? So in 3 hours, like how much you can learn. So I think Python is language, right? You don't need to spend much time in learning, more time in applying. So you go through the official documentation first, right? But that's all you need. You go through official documentation, and once you have basic fundamental, then you start learning. Like then you start applying it. Let's say you want to build anything, you start Google. Like say I want to build a web scraper for a particular website, right? Or maybe I want to find out who are the top 100 mentors across the globe on different websites through a program, because every day the ranking will change. So something, this is a problem which you want to build, and then you apply those knowledge. So starting learning is only official talk, right? That is enough. It's because very scope, Python scope is very minimal, right? So fundamentals are very minimal.
Okay. So somebody's also asking, what about Java programming? Can you
Mhm.
tell some tips on and which websites to study Java on that
Yeah.
as well?
So I'm not a like a Java programmer, but I have actually, like, my team has built products in Java. So I know Java like at higher level, but not as per se like hands-on, pretty much. But there is a website called Plural Site, where I have learned Java long back. So I think that is really good. You have a complete roadmap in Java. Like you will work on different frameworks, you will work with databases in Java. So you can start Plural Site course. It's a subscription of around $25 per month or something, and it has other courses. They have like really good. So for Java, I think Plural Site. But I'm not an expert in Java, so I cannot say like, well, I cannot give you the best advice specifically in Java.
No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
So Kush is also asking how to learn a coding language perfectly. Can you really be perfect at a coding language?
Yeah, so nobody is perfect. Like even like who are the top programmers, like they are also not perfect. So programming something is like, because if you don't practice, right? If you don't do in real world, right? So what will happen? Like you will not be. You have to keep polishing your skill, right? So there is nothing has to be perfect. Yeah, yeah. There is something called decent. So decent is like when you can adapt to any new programming language very easily. So make sure you learn one language very well, right? Maybe from the point of fundamentals, and then also with the framework, try to build something. So once you have like pretty strong like knowledge in one of the language, once you're able to move to other language, right? So that is like something you are like decent enough. So you can switch in languages pretty fast and read the official documentation. That's, I can say it's they are the perfect programmers. They don't take much time to build anything new with the new technology. So maybe adoption to the new technology or new languages, the friction, once that friction becomes less, then you are an expert.
Okay. So now that you mentioned official documentation, I can see two questions related to that.
Yeah.
Sarah is asking, can you brief about official documentation a little more? What is official documentation?
Yeah.
And combining it with another question, somebody said, you said official documentation is preferred over other person's blogs, but
Yeah.
sometimes documentations involve a lot of complex computer architectural terms.
Yes.
In those cases, even sites like Solo Learn aren't very useful. What do you suggest in this case?
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. So yeah, that happens. Like, so there are some documentations are really good. Some documentation. So it depends. Like, if you see most of the Mozilla has a documentation on a Java, right? And I think it's the best in the world, like compared to any websites. But if you see Python, like those are built by a backend developers. Like those people are like they're like hardcore programmers. Like, and it's been very old, so it's not maintained in a newly fashioned way, like with an example, and you can execute things and right. So so one thing you have to make sure, like, yeah, it's really boring. I told you initially, like, it's boring, right? So but you have to get used to it, right? So how you will feel, like how you can adapt to it is like when you try it, like when you see something, like as you have mentioned, like the terms very hard to understand, right? So some part of syntax, like sometimes I also feel it's very hard, right, to understand even with the naked eyes. So what I do, I try to execute on my system and see line by line what's happening. Then you can relate easily. So it's like learn by doing, right? If you just read official documentation, you cannot be good at it. But if you try to execute parallelly whatever is mentioning there, then you can easily have a good grasp of it. So that kind of practice you can follow.
Okay. Can you also throw light on what is official documentation for those who don't know?
Official documentation is something, let's say, if anybody, any company or any person who started an initiative, right? So any language, there is a common source of truth, or maybe a single source of truth, which is the official documentation, right? So there is a language, let's say Python 2.7, then Python 3.1, Python 3.3, right? So there are different versioning. So official documentation it's a community of developers which maintain the language in terms of like different versions, or in terms of like what can be improvements can be done, and if it is open source, like other people can also contribute. Yeah.
Okay. So I can see a good question related to students from other backgrounds. So we mainly spoke for students from CS and IT.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to know if I'm from another background, like civil or mechanical, what do companies, recruit based on, my technical knowledge, and
Yeah.
what should I do to, probably get a job in the coding sector?
Yeah. So I have seen people like who have civil background and electronic background, and in the 6 months they've been placed in Microsoft, right? So the one thing is like they have their coding profile, in a sense, like they have a coding profile on a competitive platforms, let's say CodeChef on HackerRank.
Right.
So if you try to be like a good competitive programmer, then your profile is outstanding, like among a lot of people, right? So try to be like do like make sure you learn fundamentals of computer science. You learn like you should be very good in data structure algorithms, right? For any program, like any non-CS background, like so that's way like you can actually compete with a lot of CS people in just one shot, right? So maybe if you want to start as a non-CS background, you start with the competitive programming, or not competitive, even just the problem solving. Start with data structure algorithms and then go for competitive programming. You will see a different like the people will see your resume differently even though you're from different background. That is the first thing. And then also start learning different technologies slowly. So maybe 6 months, if you just focus on that and then start learning technologies, you will have a like good exposure, or maybe you will have like you will see a different acceptation by different companies in terms of shortlisting your resume.
Okay. So I can see Simran has also asked a question related to certifications. So
Mhm.
there are a lot of these Google certifications, professional certifications from these organizations. So
Yeah,
do organizations also like recognize the relevance of it
yeah,
when they're applying, or is it only skill based? Like they make you
yeah,
like write a code and
yeah.
figure out how much you know at that time.
Yes, yes, yes. So, like, I have also done a lot of certification. So, if I tell you about, I have done certification from Facebook Hackathon. I have done certification from Udacity. and also some ethical hacking, right? But I never mentioned those things in resume, right? So certification, I don't feel it matters, right? So you only thing is skill. The first is a skill set. If somebody has a certification, let's say in one of the language from one of the prestige website, let's say Udacity, right? And somebody has built something which is live online, other can see. So that person will be given more important compared to the person who has certificate. So certification is just a theory. Now it's not practical. So skill set and make sure your projects are live will have more weightage.
Okay, all right. So somebody is also asking, can you tell us some best websites which to get all tech updates and hackathon?
So hackathon. So depending upon, I'm not sure about web hackathons. Like, so there is like IBM used to do for the web, and I forgot actually there is one company which is based out of Bangalore, which does a lot of hackathons. I forgot the name. So it's by I forgot. That's a pretty good website. I think
I
might
think
be.
even organization like I'm not sure HackerRank and HackerEarth. I'm not sure Kaggle. So I think Ryan has
Yeah,
mentioned.
yeah, yeah. Kaggle is for mostly on like data science, right? So, but what I feel they're a top coder. On top coder, they have a lot of good hackathons. So it's into competitive programming as well as on web development. So I have experience in competitive programming, but not on the web. But in web also, you can choose like a particular topic. Let's say API development. You can choose HTML, yeah, in CSS, and also in data science, right? So there is a companies who posted a challenges there, and once you build those kind of projects, you will be awarded. You will be rewarded with some like $1,000 or something like that. So that is I feel. But yeah, in general, like for hackathons, you can like just for competitive programming, just problem solving, which also required for interviews, you can do it on HackerRank and HackerEarth. But top coder you can choose for web development hackathons.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So somebody's also asking a question. What if a candidate is moderate at programming and
Mhm.
has a low academic score? How can he get a job?
Yeah.
So even if this somebody's like a lot of our students are not well versed with programming, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you would have
Yeah.
also faced that issue at some
Yeah.
point of time. So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
what can they
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. So yeah, it happens a lot. Like especially like when you are in college, even though if you are in good colleges as well, right? So there is a cutoff which every company has. So I had like 8.68 my CGPA, like, and a lot of companies like has a like cutoff of 8.75, like Microsoft, like Amazon, all the companies. But nowadays, like it's very easy to get interviews outside. Like if you have a competitive profile, and if you have good enough GitHub profile, and you're good enough hands-on on skills, then it's very easy to get uh, like opportunities outside. So academic score doesn't matter at all, but it should be decent enough. But it doesn't matter a lot. Like I have seen people who got 60 GPA and got placed in companies like Amazon and Google. So it doesn't matter much.
Okay. So we look at the last two questions because most of the questions I can see we've already covered most of them. So
Yeah.
because you said that you have experience in the AI and Python sector, they
Mhm.
also want to know what projects and can you suggest any means where we can get some experience building machine learning models?
Mhm. Yeah. So I think Kaggle is one of the, like you have mentioned initially, the website where you start like solving problems. But before that, anybody who wants to get into machine learning and AI, so I started with NLP, and then we get into machine learning and AI and computer vision. So to start with, you should be good enough in NLP, right? And there is a book called NLTK Toolkit, like NLTK book online. You can just Google NLTK book, the first website, and it will give you great exposure in terms of what are the NLP libraries which you have, and what kind of things you can do, like semantic analysis and all, like context analyzing, intent analyzing, all the stuff. So that is the one you can start with. And then there are different courses on Coursera for the machine learning. I think that is something like which everybody look forward. And then mostly research paper, right? So my experience was into machine learning was we have built a chatbot, which is travel chatbot, where you can ask a query, like if you want to travel from, let's say, from Bangalore to Amsterdam, You can ask a query to a bot. It can help you to book the ticket. So I think, yeah, so these are the initial, like I did course on Coursera and I read a book. I wrote different books. So one was some books on online and mostly research paper. So if you're solving a problem specifically, you read the research paper and apply, because I had a team of like around 15 people who were into AI, and I was just leading in terms of like architecting the entire application. So I used to get the resource for them and I used to like coordinate with them. So I think that's how like you can start, and then once you become a little decent, then you start doing Kaggle.
Okay. So we'll just look at the last question from Jaya. What is required frameworks and tools that are needed to master to learn to create a responsive website?
Okay, so depends. Like there are multiple. I think there are different libraries and different. So if you work in any of the companies, right? Everybody use Bootstrap like as a base, and then what they do, they try to override the Bootstrap and build a customized version of it.
Right.
So be good enough in Bootstrap to build any responsive site, and maybe you have to do some hacks to handle different kind of browser issues or different clients, let's say maybe email clients. So that's how it works. So there is no specific, if I can tell you like recommended courses, I can say the Plural site has different courses on responsive design, but I think Bootstrap is the one where you need to start with, and then everything you can do it in Bootstrap easily.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Saurabh. I think this was a very interesting session, and a very lot of interesting questions also came up from the mentees in terms of what kind of projects, what kind of sources they can do. And thank you for keeping it so informative and helpful for the mentees, because again, they're from school, college, and probably young working professionals who want to understand how to set out into the industry. So your journey, your how you reached where you are today has definitely help the students as well. So
Yeah,
before we
I'm
wrap up, do you have a
glad.
couple of last words for the mentees?
Yeah, so I'm glad like if this information can be helpful, and if you want, like if you have any questions, maybe you can reach out to me on LinkedIn, and maybe you can mail me. I can share all the details with you as well. So uh, I think so one thing whichever I mentioned, right, like related to Python, uh, I think just focus on one language initially, and then don't switch the languages in initial career. Right, focus on one thing, like maybe framework or a language, and then once you have like nearly 1 or 2 year experience, then try to think about other languages. So make sure you decide first, like what you want to do, and then slowly groom according to the industry or trends.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Saurabh. This is very interesting. I'm going to drop in the link to the QFIS platform as well in case any of you all want to, connect with amazing mentors like Saurabh as well. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Once again, it was very informative and we definitely love this session. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm glad like it will help if a lot of people. Thank you for hosting me.
Lovely. Take care. Thank you so
Yes.
much once again.
See ya. Bye bye.